if you missed out, there's people around the world losing faith in society because the Nintendo Switch 2 UK pre-orders went live and they sold out. Now, this was an article shared by Will of the Fans, and it says the long-awaited successor to Nintendo's flagship console was finally revealed last week, and pre-orders for the Switch 2 started to go live across the UK straight after. Stock has been coming and going quickly and selling out fast, so you'll need to be quick if you want to secure one. Now, not that anyone should be surprised here, because this is kind of twofold. One, it's a brand new console, and they always sell out if it's one of the big three, especially if it's Sony and Nintendo, but even Microsoft. I feel like, especially at launch, they pander to making sure that it sells out to drive engagement and drive people talking about it, and the FOMO is real. That being the case, though, it makes you wonder, how many pre-orders did Nintendo actually put out there? While official pre-orders on the My Nintendo store officially went live yesterday, it's the third-party retailers who have been delivering most of the pre-orders, including, I don't know any of these because this is over in the UK, Very, Argos, okay, Amazon, Smith's Toys, HMV, Game, EE Store, and John Lewis and Partners. Last Friday, Nintendo announced it was delaying pre-orders in the US because of Trump's tariffs, which, oh, by the way, like a couple days after that, Nintendo announced that Canada was going to be delaying pre-orders in Canada as well. And I can only surmise that to being Nintendo didn't want people in America to drive up to Canada to buy a Switch there and drive back to the United States, and then or people in Canada buying them and then selling them to the United States on eBay and stuff like that, because Nintendo wants to restrict the consoles coming to the US. They're being really weird about the region and region locking for this console, even more so than ever right now. For those that weren't paying attention or missed the story, Nintendo had announced that they're selling a special Japanese-only Switch 2 that retails for about, after converting from the yen, about $335 USD or $350 USD, which is over $100 less than the base model Switch 2 in the United States. And basically just a few dollars over what the original Switch costs everywhere. So they're giving people in Japan a gigantic discount, a massive, massive discount. And people are like, oh, we can just buy it from Japan. But no, Nintendo thought of that and said, no, we're making this console for us and our people in Japan. And it's only going to be in Japanese. So you need to not only know Japanese, but travel to Japan and buy it in Japan, and also be able to understand Japanese fully, because you cannot use the console in another language. They also sell a multi-language console that is around the price of where it is for us too. So it goes to show right there that Nintendo is taking full advantage of the rest of the world with this, where it doesn't cost them $450 or $500 to manufacture this. They are taking additional money away from people because they can, and because they're Nintendo, and they're so full of themselves right now. After so many years of winning, it almost feels like it's gone to their head. But maybe it's working out, because here we have the Switch 2 consoles selling out pre-orders in the UK. Anyways, previously scheduled to go live with pre-orders yesterday, Nintendo said it would assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions, which, if you missed my video I made talking about this, Trump signed an executive order for a 90-day pause on tariffs. And basically, it sounds like even with that 90-day pause, after that moving forward, they've agreed with most countries and nations for a 10% universal outside of China, which is over 100% tariff because China is not doing great. Not that anyone's surprised with how that's working out. But with this going across the world, and Vietnam specifically, where many of these are being produced, Nintendo should, and here's the thing, this goes back to the Doug Bowser thing. Nintendo should be ready to announce something. Like, here we go. It's been signed. It's not happening anymore. These tariffs are not affecting the Switch 2. Where is Nintendo with the messaging? Why are they not saying anything? I would expect tomorrow we will hear an announcement from Nintendo. But Nintendo has been dragging their feet so much with this Switch 2 stuff that I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear from them, which is crazy to me because the pre-orders were already supposed to go live. And now the reason they were delayed is no longer a problem. That is gone. That reason has been completely destroyed. It's not a thing anymore. So Nintendo needs to put the pre-orders back up. And they better be putting them up for the same price that they announced them for. If they try to start charging more for it, holy shit, are we going to have a story on our hands at that point? Because first off, they're already overcharging for it compared to Japan. If they try to charge even more for it now, gonna have some fun with that. Prompting speculation that the console's US price could increase before it launches in June. Again, now that we know it's not going to, if it does, it's not going to be because of tariffs. And it would be Nintendo straight up lying to everybody about it. If you're hoping to secure a Switch 2 ahead of launch day, we're tracking all the latest updates and pre-orders. Major retailers, keep checking back. Okay, and they have all the stuff here. So this is Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders selling out in the UK. And I hate to say it, guys, because I feel like there's a lot of people that, whether they're vocalizing it or not, I think subconsciously people kind of want there to be like an unspoken boycott of people just not buying the console so that Nintendo is forced to lower the price and apologize. But that's not going to happen. So don't stop thinking that if you are. It's not. It's already selling out in the UK. This is a strong indicator, like a direct correlation to the rest of the world, that if it sells out in the UK, it's going to sell out everywhere. And there's going to be a massive rush. There's going to be insane prices from scalpers. It's going to be a shit show for the foreseeable future to get your hands on a Switch 2. Even if you say you don't want one, even if you're telling me in the chat, which plenty of people have, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying I know how I am, where I talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, if you see it on the store shelf, you'd be like, it's really hard to say no. It's really hard to say no. But for me, it's different. Like I said in my video earlier, where I'm like, I do YouTube. I want to be able to have this so I can talk to people about it. Obviously, for selfish reasons, I want to be able to play it as well. But for everyone else out there, if you don't have a YouTube channel and don't have like a huge reason to showcase this or talk about it with other people, there's so many other options at more affordable prices that are, by many accounts, better options, especially when you consider the price of the games with the Steam Deck and Steam sales. Like, the Switch 2 is kind of a hard sell. I'm sure it's going to be a great system. I'm sure it is. But is this great system going to be worth the price? And I see Kalisoka in the chat there, and I'll get to that in a second. But I'll talk about what you said there because that's something I was going to touch on. The OLED screen is missing from the Switch 2. They just have the regular screen, the same, as far as I understand, the same screen as the previous, with just a higher resolution. But it's not OLED. When the original Switch had a mid-grade console cycle upgrade with the OLED screen. And now Nintendo is selling the Switch 2 without that, with the obvious implication of they withheld it for the sole reason of making a superior Switch 2 a year or two down the road, which is supremely frustrating because this is a marketing technique that Nintendo has perfected where they know exactly how the consumer thinks. And they basically own you in your mind. They know what you're going to do before you even do it because you've done it before and you don't even realize it. People have bought the Switch, they bought the Switch Lite, and then the OLED comes out and they're like, "Oh, an OLED with better battery? Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to buy that Switch and upgrade my Switch." To me, I didn't do that. It was almost like a principle of the matter where I'm like, no, I'm not buying the OLEDs. I'm waiting for the Switch 2 because I'll get the Switch 2, which will have most likely backward compatibility and OLED and play the next gen console games on it. And here they are coming out with the Switch 2 with no OLED screen. And I'm like, bro, why did I wait on buying the OLED Switch when this one's not going to have it? So now I'm going to what? Wait for the next Switch 2 iteration with the OLED screen and better battery life, because the battery life on the Switch 2 is estimated to be around 2 to 3 hours, which yikes, like what? How is that even handheld on the go? Like what kind of flight can you fly on or car trip can you go on for 2 hours of battery life? Like that's embarrassing. That's crazy. That's crazy. You need minimum 4 hours of battery life on the go of these. Minimum. And when they say 2 to 3 hours, it's typically closer to 2. And that's terrible. That's terrible. But yeah, anyways, the Switch 2 has sold out pre-orders in the UK. And you can gather from this that when they do announce the pre-orders in the United States, that they're going to sell out immediately. And Nintendo already knows this. And they're taking full advantage of people with it. So, yeah. Inkling says, I could care less. My Switch is always stocked. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. See, for me, it's not, the battery life is not like the biggest deal in the world because when I play my Switch, it's usually when I'm laying down in bed and just playing it before, as like a before I go to sleep type thing. But sometimes, like when I go on trips or go to cons, I do take the Switch with me without the dock. And that's when the battery life becomes an issue for those kind of things. So it's a give or take. I'm sure they're going to have accessories where you can buy an extra battery pack with you plug in the USB-C to charge the Switch on the go and stuff like that. Nintendo branded, where I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo only allowed their own brand to charge it. Like at this point, nothing would surprise me when it comes to how Nintendo's treating this situation. Anyways, I'll leave that there. Uh, and we'll see where the Switch 2 goes with the US pre-orders.